Good to have you. As always, good. Doc, let's talk about it, starting with the grounding of airlines. I was worried about you actually getting into this conversation because you are forever traveling. You're never in one place, and I wondered if you're not stranded. But what is your view on the grounding of Comair flights?
Good morning, guys. Good morning. And Gareth, please do get your color scheme checked out. I'm wearing orange, not red. Now, I was stuck in Cape Town. Okay, to me, I was stuck in Cape Town. I was on a Kulula flight at 2:30. I only got home at 2:30 a.m. Okay, because you know, the passengers were just told, oh, there's nothing we can do. We can't refund you. Just see how to finish. And SAA actually came to the rescue because they put on a couple of special flights, or what you can call chartered flights, on behalf of Comair and BA for passengers to try and get home. But there was a scramble to get on. And of course, the big issue was that the other airlines' prices went up. There's an airline apparently called Lyft. I didn't know it existed. While you are on the queue to try and book, you know, a flight ticket could rise from 2,000 to 5,500 one way back to Johannesburg. It's a total disgrace because it's not how an industry should work. When you are your passengers are in crisis, that's when you are supposed to rise to the occasion, not try and exploit them while they're trying to get to another destination. So, but the bigger thing is the safer skies to me. I mean, we haven't had a crash in this country for decades. And I think that the Civil Aviation Authority is doing the right thing to ground this airline and ensure that it is safe. A couple of, you know, near-death incidents happened over the last couple of. In fact, as we are getting on Thursday, we saw a newspaper article talking about the failed engine and so on. And the big question is, where is the Minister of Transport? This is when he should be making noise and getting some of these airlines out of our skies. Anyway, so that's a big story. We saw it live. We arrived home only at about 2:30 a.m. this morning.
Yeah, at least you did arrive safe and sound. That's what matters, right? Sometimes when you're in a rush of trying to get home, you forget that safety is important. Last week, we missed a chance to actually talk to you about this, but the Chief Justice appointment's big talking point. What do you make of Raymond Zondo officially being in the hot seat?
Look, I mean, obviously, it's a reward for all the hard work he has done over the last 3 years. I'm not sure whether you should use the Chief Justice appointment as a reward in that way. He's got 2 years to go, and it would have been good to just get somebody new. But at the same time, it's no life and death matter if you know, he finishes 2 years to continuity. I think there's a big issue about a Deputy Chief Justice being undermined. We saw in the previous round of the election of a Chief Justice, Justice Lekgamo Seneke being, you know, tossed to the side. Instead of being given the Chief Justice role. So I think there was a part of this decision that was to correct that, to say, if you're a Deputy Chief Justice, you should be able to learn the ropes and be able to have continuity and take over the reins. And I think that could be one of the reasons. But there's also politics involved here, that the actual JSC interviews were a bit of a mess. We saw particularly the EFF and one or two other commissioners really dragging Justice Zondo into what was really sort of a discourteous exchange that maybe the president and other parties may have said this set the wrong precedents, that these interviews are used as political football. So let's stop that by putting justice there. But at the same time, you don't have a situation where the big question is, if a potential woman candidate, do you always make them a deputy first, and then they sit around and hang around and wait, you know, for a male person to just finish 2 years and we're going to be back at this or what? But nevertheless, if Justice Maya agrees, it will be two top jurists at the top of our judiciary for the next 2 years, which is great. And if we follow the logic, then she should then become Chief Justice in 2 years. So that's my take on that particular issue.
Yeah, but I also want to touch on Raymond Zondo's work with the State Capture Report, Part 3. What do you make of that? Because, yes, he's, of course, now the new Chief Justice, but we also know of the work, the extensive work he and his commission have done with the State Capture Report.
They've generally done a great job. Part 3 has revealed what on our show last week we called a gallery of rogues who really should do the right thing and just resign. You know, I mean, Kweremantashe to start with, and I've always said the fish rots from the head, and if the ANC is serious about these issues of corruption, if their chairperson is listed on this thing and he is the one throwing his toys out of the court saying he's going to take the thing on review, it's a contradiction, because he says a report they didn't find much against him. So why does he take it on review? Because all it says is he must be investigated. Now, you can't take that on review. Why don't you let the investigation happen if you think you are clean, and then your name is cleared? But what's more important is that he must go and clear his name away from office. He can't say to us, oh, let me do my job, which means allow me to continue my nefarious ways, and until you pin me down, I just want to continue. And please don't use this as a political tool. I think this is, and I think we need, the president is to fire all the people who have been mentioned in these reports, like that Tabane Makwetla, you know, who's in that office, must be told to leave. All these things are making it difficult for us to take the ANC seriously as far as fighting corruption is concerned, because they now want to drag this thing out, drag us into their party political thing with a conference coming in December. And before anybody is jailed because of this theft that's apparent in these reports, we're gonna be sitting next year this time, still twiddling our thumbs. I think this is completely unacceptable, and I hope that civil society, other political parties, and so on, will put pressure on the president to fire these people.
All right, it seems like that's the recourse that you're taking there. I have to let you go in a few seconds. Before I do, we cannot ignore the Ukraine-Russia war. Supermantla Koke out there doing amazing work, painting us a picture, or at least giving us those live visuals of what's happening on the ground. What do you make of, you know, where this conflict is right now?
Look, as you have seen, you know, splashed in the front pages of many newspapers, we're going to have to all be ready for the inevitable consequences of this. Not just fuel now, food prices, because Ukraine huge on you know, exports of food and so on, like rice are suppressed. I thought it's China who was doing more rice, but it looks like we're going to have to all buckle down, which brings back to the issue of what is South Africa doing. Last week there were some murmurs that the president and other people were intervening and so on. I don't think that's to be taken too seriously, because South Africa has already put its foot wrong by just trying to fold its arms and trying to sit on the fence in as far as this big humanitarian crisis is concerned. And I think that's a disgrace. I do think that we should have taken a stronger stance, even if we do want both sides to talk. We need to be clear what our moral stance is, because you and I are going to be affected now. We're going to have to pack our cars, I don't know, take what to work.
Well, we'll have to leave it there, because you're talking about some of the major implications of this conflict on the ordinary South African. And I appreciate your time this morning. Dr. JJ Tabane, host of Power to Truth, speaking to us this morning.